In one of his books written a number of years ago, and I'm looking on my shelf and I can't find it, which must mean that it's at home, Marcus Borg, whose wife is one of the canons of the cathedral in Portland, and he teaches religion at Oregon State. Wonderful scholar. I imagine that you've had some acquaintance with him, but one of his books was entitled Meeting Jesus Again for the First Time. And he presents 4 different ways of looking at Jesus prior to his crucifixion and resurrection. What was he doing? What was Jesus doing on earth? And so he describes him as a spirit person who saw himself as a mediator of the sacred, or a subversive teacher of wisdom who used parables and aphorisms to jolt folks into a fresh awareness of God. He was a prophet who criticized the social elites of his day. I'm sure you can hear all of these things, or when you think about the New Testament, you can see, yes, I see that. And the 4th one was that he was a movement founder who invited his followers and hearers into a transforming relationship with the God, the Spirit that he knew. So, we've heard Bart talk about how that Jesus that Borg describes became God. Did he see himself as God? Bart talked about that a little bit. Hard to know. All of this is mediated by the gospel writers. But I think Borg's work is good and bears some consideration, some thought. So, on this big topic of theology, Christian theology, and we've got several of your patronuses are theologians, official theologians. That was their job. I think of Macquarie, for example, and John Cobb. They were people who made their living doing theology, as opposed to being pastors who had to employ theology, or social movement folks like King, who were trained theologians, certainly, but they didn't necessarily sit down and write a systematics. So, this is a rough section. It's a big section because it can be so dense. And so I'm going to boil it down to something that I hope is a little more manageable. And that is, for your Patronus, who was Jesus Christ? What was his relationship to the Godhead? How did he accomplish, use that language, it's not the same that I'll have written down, how did he accomplish our salvation? That's really it. It's not a long piece, I hope, recognizing that, I don't know when you'll read this, given the nature of this weekend, or when you'll see this, but yeah, I know that it's a tough weekend, busy weekend, a joyous weekend, but I don't want to increase the burden much, so if at all. So really, and of course, this weekend, what are we thinking about in the church? We are thinking about Jesus Christ, his unique place in religion and in the world, and we are celebrating things that are central to the Christian faith this weekend. And so, you might already be thinking about, or you might have already thought about what your Patronus has to say about Jesus Christ as we anticipate, or as we have, depending again on when you're looking at this, have celebrated the Feast of the Resurrection. So again, it's pretty brief. Who for your Patronus, who was Jesus Christ, and what did he do? How did he accomplish our salvation? If, going back to Prothero, the problem is sin, the solution is salvation, and there is some combination of faith and works that we need to do to get from the problem to the solution. What's your Patronus's answer to that sort of dilemma, or that sort of question, those sets of questions? And so I leave you with another hymn. And this one may not be the tune that you're accustomed to, or the way that you're accustomed to it, but this, of course, gets at a different, the other of the major features of Christianity. We started with a hymn on the Trinity. We will end with a hymn on Jesus. So I look forward to hearing your Patronus.